A real man should serve his own desires with boldness and cleverness.
All right.
A real man should serve his own desires with boldness and cleverness. That was the Greek concept of service. Always have a hidden agenda. Always serve for the reason of being served back, or serve because you're going to get something out of it. And when you find out you can't get anything out of it, quit serving. How many people do you know in this audience who are sophists? How many people do you know in the church who only serve for their own hidden agendas? How many people have brought that concept of service into the church of my Lord and have manipulated people in the church of my Lord for ages? Think about it, folks. We've got men who talk good and will talk you into standing out in front, leave you out there by yourself, and use you until they've used you up. They continue to use you because it's something in it for them. That was the Greek concept of service. It was something to be looked down upon. It was some person to be manipulated. It was some person who, as Aristotle said concerning this word, he was a human tool. Cicero says of this word, he was simply not human. When we look at the Jewish concept of service, when the Jews looked at any of these words, especially this one, they looked at it as a word that brought honor. They looked at both master and slave as a person that could be honorable in certain circumstances. It was not a totally humiliating idea to the Jews. However, the Jews looked at it as a great honor to serve God, a great honor to serve other men, but they also looked at it as a way for them to merit and earn things. Okay? Turn to Luke chapter 18, verse 9. Luke chapter 18, verse 9. Okay? Okay? Their service led them to a merit system. Luke 18, verse 9. Go ahead and read it, Aaron, please. Now notice what it says. They learn from their service to trust in themselves. Have you heard people talk about how many times they come to worship service? How every time the doors are open, they're there. They give more, and boy, they've been in the church a long time. Therefore, they have a right to have more of a say-so. Therefore, they have earned the right to be excused when they act ugly. They have earned the right to bully others around and count others as nobody or nothing. This was the problem that the Pharisees and Sadducees had. This was the problem the Jews had. They served, but they had a hidden agenda. I'm serving to earn favor in God's sight. I'm serving so that God can look at me in a different light than he looks at other men. I am serving so God will excuse more from me than he will from others. They had what I call the PO, performance orientation. Okay? Let's face it, folks. Our wife cooks a good dinner, we'll bring her flowers the next night, right? She performed well, just like a dog, we give her a bone, right? Okay, can we all say amen? We treat people like dogs, isn't that right? Okay, we treat people like animals. If they perform well, I will respond well. If they do not perform well, I will respond bad. Okay? Can we all say amen? And it's so dangerous with our kids. Because what we're doing is setting our kids up to fall under peer pressure. Okay? Because the peers say, do this and we'll like you. But all of their lives, we've said the same thing. Do this and I'll like you. Son, if you win the race, I'm going to call you the greatest track star, and I'm going to brag about you all over the place. But if you lose, I'm not even going to mention that you run track. Okay? Don't want anybody to know that you are an athlete, son. It's an embarrassment to me. Okay? If you do bad, son, I'm going to help you translate that into I don't love you. And I only love you if you do good. Okay? All right. Luke 18, verse 9, read it.
And this 5:7. 2 men went up into the temple to pray. The one a Pharisee and
the one a Pharisee, the other a publican.
The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself. God.
Notice, he prayed with himself. He didn't pray with himself and God. Okay? Jesus is setting the book straight, okay? He only was talking to himself, okay? That prayer did not get out of the room, okay? That prayer didn't leave his head, okay? Didn't even get to the top strand of his hair. Okay, read.
Pray thus with himself, God.
Prayed thus with himself, God, I thank you
that I am not as other men are.
That I'm not so bad of a guy. I'm all right, God. You ought to be glad to have me, God. God, look how privileged you are to have a person like me. I am a celebrity in your kingdom, Father. Father, do you want my autograph? Isn't that something? Look at the arrogance that their service produced. Look at the religious false piety that their service produced. It was the wrong kind of service coming from the wrong kind of motivation. Read.
Extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or
I thank God that I'm not bad like these folks. I'm all right. They're all bad. They need you. I don't. Okay? They need you. I don't. They need your grace. I don't. I've earned the right. I've earned my position. God, you ought to be glad I'm here. Negating the grace of God. That was the Jewish concept. Folks, we treat one another like that. Okay? We treat one another like that in the church, out of the church. We treat one another like that at home. We treat one another like that on jobs. So basically, the idea of service that we have in our minds really comes from the Greeks and the Jews. Serve to merit. Serve for hidden agendas. Okay? Jesus gave the diakonos a brand new meaning. Jesus gave the diakonos a meaning that said that this person who served out of the motivation of love. Okay? Out of the motivation of selfless, sacrificial, and in spite of love. Let's look over at Luke chapter 10, verse 40. Anytime you define a word, the best thing in the world to do is look it up in the Bible and see how the Bible writers use the word. That's the best way to get a good definition of a word, and that's what we're going to do for the next 5 or 6 minutes. Here you go, Luke chapter 10, verse 40. What does it say? Read it, please.
But Martha was cumbered about much serving.
Okay, Martha was cumbered about with much serving.